early hours of the morning of January 13th, Soviet paratroops, with the aid of a special Black Beret battalion from Vitebsk, stormed and occupied the Lithuanian radio and television building and the television tower in Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania. The brutality of this assault was recorded on videotape by cameramen who have to date not been identified, but whose extreme bravery must be recognized. For they left history a visual record of an assault against peaceful, unarmed civilians who used their bodies to guard the symbols of a free press from occupation. Their only weapons, chants and songs in defense of freedom and self-determination. Copies of the tape whose excerpts you are about to see were successfully carried to the West by a handful of people, among them Algirdas Kupris, who here describes how he carried his tape past customs in Moscow, wrapped as a gift. The tape was given to him by a Mr. Krukauskas in the Lithuanian parliament. Others were not so successful and had their tapes confiscated by Soviet customs. On January 11th, Soviet Army troops, using tanks and live ammunition, captured the city's main publishing center and a building housing President Landsbergis's fledgling militia, the Department of Territorial Defense. Crowds of people were guarding these buildings in the hope that their presence would prevent an assault. To the Soviet troops, their presence proved to be inconsequential. The troops vandalized the buildings, smashing glass, destroying furniture and equipment as the helpless residents of Vilnius looked on. The press building housed printing facilities of many of Lithuania's newspapers and magazines, whose numbers increased tremendously following the re-establishment of independence and the emergence of the Landsbergis administration. Even after the takeover of the press building, people milled around aimlessly, chanting, singing, even verbally challenging the troops in the tanks, as if somehow, with their bodily presence, they could change what was already inevitable. The tanks intimidated the chanting crowds, wreaking destruction on the lawns and sidewalks, even firing their cannons. In this atmosphere of tension, several violent incidents forewarned of even more tragic events to come. One of the first victims was an 18-year-old youth who was shot in the face and seriously injured by a Soviet colonel whom he had doused with water during the takeover of the press building. After being confronted by shocked witnesses to this incident, the colonel argued that he was justified in shooting the youth. The crowd remained unconvinced as the colonel walked away and took refuge in his tank. It was the colonel who shot him because he had doused him with water. See, the remains of the bullets are there, said this man. Another incident involved a small truck carrying toys. As witnesses described, the tank hit the truck head-on, crushing the cabin of the truck and seriously injuring the driver. The driver in the hospital described the incident to a Lithuanian reporter. He said, "Two tanks passed me, and the third hit me head-on." An engineering student described how he was hit from behind with something when he went to join his friends at the press building. He fainted and was brought to the hospital.